Chris. Welcome to my basement gym for a little yoga this morning. So what we're going to use today is I have my mat, I have my blocks, and my towel. If you don't have a block or a strap, feel free to grab some pillows, have extra towels. I also double up on my yoga mat since I am on a hard floor. This is a cement floor. So if you're working with a hardwood floor or cement floor or tile, feel free to double up on your mats. It really does help, okay? So again, let's find ourselves in a nice quiet position in standing. Feel free to turn on some music for background. I have a little background music going, but it's very subtle. I want us to be able to find what feels good for us and use that. And we're going to get totally relaxed first, get warmed up, and stretch a little bit today. So let's find our feet underneath our hips. And if you'd like, you may allow your big toes to touch, heels being separated so that the outside edges of our feet are parallel to one another. If that doesn't feel quite right, again, there's no right, no wrong, just different. Find what feels good for you. Let's find our center of balance and let our weight shift forward into the ball of our feet and then shift back into the heels. So it's just a body weight shift. I'm not picking up my heels or picking up my toes. Everything is anchored. I'm just letting my weight shift a little heavier forward and a little heavier back. Let's find that balance where we're a little bit heavier in our heels, about 60% to 40% towards the ball of each foot. Let's settle there. And now let the weight shift heavier in our left leg, and then heavier in our other leg. So shifting from right to left until we find that center. Find where we're just weight centered down our midline. So we feel a little bit heavier in our heels, but we're right down the middle for right and left. Let's look down at our toes. I want us to pick up our big toes and push all the other toes down. Come on, I can do this. There we go. It's kind of funny. If you're having difficulty getting your toes doing what you want them to do, touch them. Put a finger on them, touch them. You get that mind-muscle connection. So I got my big toes up and my other toes down. Can we flip them around? Push the big toes down, pull the other toes up. And flip it one more time. And down. Good, let's push the big toes down. Fan out our toes. See if we can see a little bit of mat in between each one of our toes. Good, let's lift our arches. Soften our knees a little bit. Rotate those thigh bones open. Good. Just allow the inside seam of our pants or shorts, leggings to roll forward, pulling our tailbone a little more underneath us. Good. Let activation come to our belly muscles. Gently hugging the belly muscles in as we lift our sternum. Our sternum lifts, but we're not flaring our ribs. Our ribs are stitched towards our hip bone. Good. Arms hang by our side. Just kind of shake them out and just let them be where they are. You might have your hands facing your sides. You might be able to open up your sternum enough to allow the insides of your palms to face forward a little bit. If you're still like this, that's okay. We shall work on it. It's more about broadening and opening up the chest than rotating at our elbow and our wrist. From here, let's press our chin forward towards our sternum and then pull it back. And one more time, reaching out and pull back. Good, allowing the ears to be over the shoulders and not in front of our shoulders. Imagine the crown of our head lifting upward towards the ceiling, lengthening our body. Lengthening the spine. distributing our weight in an ideal fashion. Take strain off of our back. Our spine is designed to distribute the workload of our head weight, our shoulders, our hips, so it can manage it well. Sometimes gravity can play havoc when we have improper posture and it just pulls us forward more. So try this every day. Try this multiple times a day. If you find yourself standing, set up a beautiful mountain pose. Set up your beautiful mountain pose and work on great posture. Your neck, your back, your hips, your ankles, knees will eventually thank you in time with that practice. Let's focus on our breathing as we inhale fully and exhale fully. Feel free to breathe in and out through your nose. Maybe you're a little stuffy and that doesn't quite work and you have to use your mouth. That's okay. By focusing our breath in and out through our nose, we keep the heat of our breath within our body, helping to build up that heat within our core. If you'd like, close your eyes. And with each exhalation, let's press out all those external thoughts, those to-do lists, anything that might distract us from the energy we want to put into ourselves today. Remember, we cannot take care of others if we don't take care of ourselves first. It is not selfishness. It is very self-preservation. It's helping yourselves so you can help others. Let your breath help relax your mind. Relaxing the shoulders out of our ears. Even smiling a little helps. It helps release those good hormones, calms us. Let's open our eyes if you chose to have them closed, bringing our hands to heart center, coming through the middle, elbows as close as we possibly can. Again, mine separate maybe sooner than yours, and that's okay. Maybe yours goes separating sooner than mine. It's what works for us. My mobility is not the greatest, but that's why we practice. So inhale through the middle. Exhale, arms sweep down. And I want us to imagine moving our arms through warm water, spreading the fingertips apart, feeling that resistance as we press the arms down. 3 more times. Inhale and exhale. 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. 1 last time. Good. Let's inhale through the middle. Dropping our right arm, pressing the right foot through the floor, lengthening the arms, and lift to center. And exhale, changing sides. Inhale, lift. And exhale 1 more time to the right. Inhale, and to the left. Both arms floating down. Good. Let's sweep up again. Take up a lot of space. Come through the middle this time. Exhale. Inhale, scoop, lift. And then exhale. 2 more times. Inhale. And exhale. 1 last time. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Let's inhale, lift, preparing for chair pose. Hands come to heart center for chair as we sit back, hips in the heels. Good. Now press up and release. Let's do that again. Inhale, chair pose. Hands come to heart center, sitting back in our hips and our heels. And up and lower. Let's do this 3 more times. Inhale, lift. Exhale, chair. Inhale. And exhale. Lift. Arms can come to goalpost now if you choose. Squeezing those shoulder blades together. And if you'd like, arms may stay extended. Belly pulled in. What feels good for you? I like goalpost myself. Last time. Inhale. Exhale, chair, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift, and arms floating down. Good, let's shift our weight into our left leg. And just take our right leg up and over an imaginary box. Just warming up the hips. We'll do 3 more. There's 2. 1 more time. Good, and changing sides. It's not how much we open up our hips, so don't rotate your hips open. Keep this knee and hip forward. When we feel that resistance, we just put our leg down. Everyone's hips are designed differently, so don't worry if you can't open your legs wide, or if you can go much wider and still have your hips facing forward. Good. Stagger your feet, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. So we just come up onto the ball of each foot. Not rolling out onto our pinky toe. We're nice and strong. Stable in our ankle joint. 1 more time. As we change. And lift. Woo-hoo. Arms can be out to our sides. We can be heart center. We can be at a T. 1 more. At heart center. Let's step generously apart. Toes turned out, coming into sunflower squats. Pressing the hips back. Opening up our hips. Tucking the tailbone under. And remember, we're loading into our heels, not into the ball of each foot. Breathe. Let's do 4 more. There's 3. 2 more times. Last one. Moonflower. Elbows draw down towards our hips. Good. 4 more. There's 4. And 3. 2. 1. Combining these, doing sunflower and moon. Breathe. Warming up our leg muscles. Getting ready for the challenges that we'll do today. Last cycle. Good. Staying tall in 5-pointed star. Pull the tailbone underneath us. Pull the shoulders down. Pull the arm bones down into the shoulders. And floating down. Toe heel in, till we feel comfortable. And then stepping in. Let's grab our blocks and our straps. I'm going to grab a quick sip. Let's have our blocks handy in front. And our straps handy. Starting with our block with a forward fold. Feel free to face to the side if that's something that you feel comfortable with lengthwise. Otherwise, you may face front. Usually while teaching, there's 2 of us and we tend to face each other and do our folds, but I'm going to face you today, okay? Let's start. Feet again underneath our hips. You may let the big toes touch. You don't have to. Inhale. Open up the chest. Exhale. Forward fold. Feel free to start with the block. Letting our hands rest on the block. Remember the heights that you can pick to help you do a good forward fold. Good. Breathing into the forward fold. Let your knees be soft and bend the knees slightly. Hugging our thigh muscles to the bone.
Allow everything from our waist up and out through our fingertips to be relaxed. Shaking the head side to side as if saying no. And now nodding as if saying yes. Good. Bend our knees generously as we place our hands high on our thighs, rounding up one vertebrae
at a time. Good. Let's do this again. Inhale. Exhale. Hinging. Folding.
Allow the head to just hang from the shoulders. Bend the knees slightly. Soften those knees. Shake the head as if saying no. And nodding as if saying yes. Good. Hands high on our thighs as we round up.
One vertebrae at a time. So we do one more forward fold. We will add into this forward fold now. Hinging and releasing to our block. Let's keep our left hand on the block. Bend our left knee generously as we point towards the wall with our right arm. Exhale, press through the block, rotating open. Good. Let's return to our block. As we switch sides, bending our right knee generously, right hand stays on the block. Inhale as we point to the wall, and then exhale, press through to open. And release. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reversing our fold. As we come to chair pose, weight is in our hips and our heels. Tailbone tucked under. We can wiggle our toes, but our big toe is anchored though. Good. Let's exhale, swan dive to the block one more time. And one more time, bending our left knee generously, left hand on the block, right hand points to the wall. Exhale, rotating open. Notice I'm not reaching with my right arm. My right arm is a straight extension out from my shoulder, just as a gauge, knowing how far I'm rotating. Let's return to our blocks as we change sides. Bending our right knee, right hand stays on the block. Inhale, pointing to the wall. Exhale, press to open. Breathe. Returning to our block. Hands high on our knees. Inhale, reversing our forward fold. And coming into chair. Hands at heart center. Weight is back in our heels. We can lift our toes, but we do want our big toe to be velcroed down. Belly muscles pulled in. Good. Exhale, chair. Inhale, let's lift out. Exhale, arms float down. Good. Let's take our blocks, put them at the end of our mat. I'll be facing this way. I'm going to grab a quick sip. And let's face our blocks. We're going to be coming down to the floor into crescent. I'd love to give us that room to move. Inhale as we lift. Exhale, forward fold. Again, feel free to use your shins, use your block. Maybe you can come all the way down. Me, I'm not quite there. I'm still tight. So from here, let's take the leg closest to each other, stepping back generously into a lunge and bringing our knee down. Letting the top of the foot rest on the floor as we sweep into crescent pose. Pressing the hips forward so we don't collapse into our low back. Our low back is long. There is curve to it, but not so much that you make like a kink. It's more like a little cup. Tailbone tucks under so we open up through our sternum. Breathe. Let's bring the arms down to goalpost. Squeezing our shoulder blades together, pushing the elbows back. Again, opening up our collarbone. Extending back up. And coming back to our blocks. And reversing our forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling as we reverse. So we do the same thing, other side. Forward fold. Coming to our blocks, stepping the leg furthest from each other into a deep lunge. Let's lower our knee, top the foot on the mat as we come into crescent pose. Again, low back is long. Open up through the sternum. Good. Let's draw our arms down into goalpost. Extending up. Coming back into our lunge and into a forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reversing that fold. So we do the same thing again. Exhale, fold. Into crescent. To goalpost. Extending our arms. Coming back into our forward fold. And reverse. One last time, other side. Into our lunge for crescent. Pushing the hips through. Breathe. Drawing down into goalpost. Open up the chest. And extend. Into forward fold. And reversing. Good. Forward fold. Feel free to come to your block. As we step one leg out, the other leg out. And this is a part that if your floor is not padded, maybe you have just one yoga mat, feel free to make a wrinkle for your knees to rest on. Or even if you have wrist troubles and you don't have two blocks to perch your wrists like this on it, draping your knuckles and your fingers over the edge. If you make a wrinkle in your mat, that elevates your wrist enough to where you're kind of like this instead of like this. You can be a little bit kinder, especially if you have carpal tunnel issues. So please find what works for you, all right? Let's all come down onto all fours. So we work a little cat-cow. Starting with our lower backs, let's tuck our tailbones under. Pull the belly button higher, even higher. Now pushing the floor away, we round even more. And then finally our head drops, so our gaze is between our thighs, towards our feet. Let's breathe into our cat pose. Can we push a little firmer with our arms, rounding more into a barrel. Exhale, cat. Inhaling into cow. Turn that tailbone up to the sky. Tilt the hips forward, dropping the belly button down. Drop the ribs down. And now lift our sternum and open the throat in front. Breathing into cow. Try not to make it just a little crick, tight little kink in the low back. Make it scoop the whole way. So really think about pulling our chest through our shoulders and opening up our voice forward. Good. Flow between cat and cow. Really think about pushing the hands through the floor, rounding the back like a big barrel. And now scooping the hips, tilting the hips forward, opening up through the rib cage and opening up through the chest. Flowing between cat and cow. Really working on that separation of each vertebrae, separating each movement, making it flow up the spine. One more time, cat-cow. Good. Let's ease ourselves into a low plank. Tailbone is tucked under, gluteals are squeezed. Don't let the gluteals be passive, allowing the hips to fall. Give the gluteals a squeeze. Pull the belly muscles firmly into our spine. From here, pressing back into extended child pose. And exhale, cat curl up into low plank. And press back. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale, press back. Inhale. And exhale, curl forward. Let our exhalation help with the movement. Let the inhalation help with the strength. Remember, when we are in low plank, our thigh muscles hug the bone, our gluteals are strong, and our belly is lifted into our spine. We're not loading into our shoulders. Our shoulders are out of our ears. Good, one more time. Coming into low plank, preparing for downward facing dog. As we dig our toes in, pressing the hips up skyward, letting the weight sink into our hips and our heels. Breathe. If we feel like our downward facing dog is forward loading, or heavy in our shoulders, feel free to bend the knees generously, so that way you can press back and you take the load off of your shoulders. You should be able to pick up your arms because our weight is back in our hips. So that may mean generously bending your knees, or even, if you want, stay on your knees and do a puppy. It's what feels good for you. Downward facing dog. If we're on our feet, let's raise up onto the ball of each foot and lower the heels down. One more time, lift and lower. Let's come forward into plank, toes or knees, and lower down. Pressing back into extended child pose. And cat curl back into either a high-low plank and downward facing dog. Good. Back into either a high-low plank and lowering. Extended child pose. Good. Cat curl forward. Downward facing dog. Back to plank. Extended child pose. And one more plank. This will be our last cycle. Downward facing dog. Back to plank. High or low. And extended child pose. Let's all stay in extended child pose for just a moment. If the hips don't want to reach the heels, this will be a great time to sneak that block in. Lay it underneath your forehead. I would love it if we can get our hips to be on our heels. And if that takes putting a block right there, wonderful. If this does not feel good, maybe a block underneath the heels is a better option for you. In extended child pose, let's take our thumbs up towards the ceiling, taking the bend out from our shoulders. Let's sneak the knees in a little bit closer to each other. You can feel the stretch, feeling the roundness within our backside. Let's bring our hands down by our side in child pose. Hands underneath our shoulders for light support. We slowly round up and come into diamond. Good job. Let's raise up. Coming forward, giving ourselves support as we come to standing. Facing each other as we prepare for triangle pose. Feel free to use the block if you need to. I prefer not to use a block as an aid for some things, especially for staying high in triangle pose. Sometimes our mobility, we tend to fall into the block and we get rounded. So if your triangle pose looks like this and you're trying to fall and use the block, you might start rounding in your back just because you're trying to reach that block. I find it better just to keep the hand on the inside of the thigh as we come into triangle, because we want that nice straight spine. And if this is all the further we really can go and we think we're supposed to go to the block, this is how we look. We're just sort of rounding. We're taking our spine and making it a crescent instead of straight. So use the block if you need to, if you can get here, but you need that little bridge of support, but not like this. Pinky swear. Coming into triangle pose. Let's turn our right toes out fully. Our left toes turn in slightly. Feel like we're walking on a tightrope, where our heel is lined up with the instep of our left foot. First, let's reach out, dropping our right hip. Good. Now, come back and lift the right hip. Again, push the left hip out, drop the right hip. You can see the height levels changing. And now pull it back up. This time going fully into our triangle pose. Reach out, drop the right hip, lifting our left hip, and then let the hand come to the inside of the thigh, and our hand just stacked. This is a beautiful triangle pose. Breathing into the stretch. We're rotating this thigh bone open. Don't let the thigh bone cave in and the knee cave in. Take the inside seam of that thigh and open it up. Breathe. Both legs are strong. Soft knee so we don't lock out. If you can come down further. But then again, if you're doing one of these, see how my spine is rounding? Lift up. This is still beautiful. Breathe. Exhale, triangle. Inhale as we press through both feet to force ourselves up. And hands come to heart center. Shake it out as we change sides. Toes forward as we turn our left toes out fully. Our right toes in slightly. And coming to a letter T. Feel free to grab that block if you need it. Let's start with the reach and dropping our left hip. Our right hip pops up. If I had a little chalk line here, you could see a little line, and all of a sudden it does this. Let's do it one more time. Lifting out. Good. Reach. Drop that left hip. Lifting our right. And now coming into triangle. Good. Again. Rotate this thigh bone open. This knee is soft. Both legs are strong. Notice a nice straight spine. If I try to go down further, my hip mobility, my spinal mobility, I'm starting to do the whole crescent instead of a straight line. So this is fine. It's okay. If you can make your triangle a little bit bigger and come down. Use your block as long as you're not slumping into it. Breathe. The legs are strong, thigh muscles hugging the bone. Inhale, triangle pose. Exhale, pressing through both feet to lift. Hands come to heart center. Toes turn forward as we change sides once more. Let's add into this, making our triangle a little bit more dynamic. Let's start with a bent knee. So as we bend our knee, don't let the knee cave in. Pull that knee towards our pinky toe. Good. Reach. And coming into our triangle pose. Good. Inhale. And as we exhale, pressing the legs straight. Good. Inhale, bending. Exhale, press. Good. Inhale, bend. You can see you can get your hips a little lower when you bend. And then keep that lowness as we straighten. One more time. Bending. Maybe wiggle that foot back a smidgen. And now straighten. Good. Keep this. As we drop that arm, let the fist rest right on our hip. As we open up our chest a little bit more, pressing on the inside of our thigh. Breathe. Let's extend. Bringing the arm over our head and into ragdoll. Feeling a wonderful stretch down the side of our ribs. Inhale, ragdoll triangle. And exhale into our traditional triangle, pressing through both feet to lift. As we change sides, let's turn around. Right toes turned out, left toes in slightly. As we prepare, bending our left knee generously, excuse me. Left, right, left knee, I tell you. Coming into our triangle, let's reach, drop the hip. And here we are. Good. Inhale and exhale. Let's take the bend out of that left leg. Inhale. And again, exhale. Straight spine. Inhale, bending our triangle. Sink the hips a little bit more. And exhale, straighten the leg. One last time. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. Let's keep that triangle. Bringing the hand down, ready, resting our fist on our hip. Rotate the chest, open a little bit more to the ceiling. Reaching up, up, over our head, and into ragdoll. Try not to let the spine round. Keep our spine lifted. Breathe. That wonderful stretch right under our armpit. As we extend back up and press out of our triangle. Hands come to heart center. Toes forward. Good. Shake out the legs. Wonderful. Coming into five-pointed star. Draw the elbows down. Imagine we're laying on the floor. The back of our hands, the backs of our elbows, and our shoulders are all touching the floor. So we draw the elbows down and we lift our arms up. As we lift our arms up, pull the arm bones down into the shoulder. Pull the shoulders down away from our ears. Good. Let's take those hands, lacing the fingertips behind our back. Now, if this is something that is of a challenge to you, sneak over, get that strap, and just hang on to your strap, okay? No right, no wrong, just different. Good, soft knees as we hinge to a wide leg forward fold. Pull the belly muscles in. Don't let the chest stick out. Breathe. Press to lift. As we release our hands. Good. I'm just going to give you my backside. You stay right here, okay? So we're laced and we're like this. I want us to grab the forearm here. And now pour water out of your ear. and sneak the arm up a little bit more. And one more time. And release. And pour water. And lift. Creep the hand up a little further, closer to the elbow. And pour. Good. Just wanted to show you that. A little stretch for the neck, a little stretch for the shoulders. Let's take the shoulders straight up. Squeeze back and let them fall down. Then again, straight up, squeeze back and let them fall. One last time. Lift, squeeze back and fall. Shake it out. Let's come into side angle pose. Our right toes turn out fully. Left toes turn out slightly. Feet are a little bit wider apart. I started small with triangle. I'm creeping out my side angle pose as I bring my arms up to a letter T. Bringing a bend into my right leg. Again, as I do bring that bend, my knee does not cave in. Use the strength of my glutes and my thigh muscles to pull the knee towards the pinky toe. Good. From here, let's bring the hand inside the thigh as our other arm, elbow lays across our ear. So we have a nice straight line from the thigh bone through our torso and out through our fingertips. Try not to have it where you have 3 different bends. Okay? So don't worry if your side angle is more upright or lower. Again, no right, no wrong, just different. Good. Coming into our reverse warrior. Sweep up. Good. Let's extend our reverse warrior. Breathe. Coming back into a bent leg warrior. As we sweep around, giving ourselves a hug into side angle. Breathe. Always reminding ourselves that this knee is drawn back towards our pinky toe. Good. Coming into warrior 2. And lifting out. Hands at heart center as we change sides. Preparing for our side angle pose. Let's put a bend into our left knee. Remember, our knee pulls back towards our pinky toe using our thigh muscles and our glutes. Good. Hand rests on the inside of our thigh as we sweep the right arm up, elbow by our ear. Again, that nice straight line from the leg, thigh bone, through the torso, out through our fingertips. And again, this could be a beautiful side angle pose, okay? Try not to think you have to go over as far as you can. We just want to think about elongating the side of our body. Breathe. Good. Let's reverse warrior. Sweeping up, lift up, opening up our chest, pushing the hips down as we lift and separate our ribs. Let's extend our reverse warrior. Tailbone under. As we come back down into a bent leg warrior and into side angle, giving ourselves a hug this time. Breathe. Again, side angle could be here. It can be here. What works for you? Ending in warrior 2. Notice the shoulders are straight over the hips. We're not reaching out like we're fencing. It's like we have siblings playing tug of war, and they're equally pulling on our arms, so our shoulders stay centered. Good. Hands coming to heart center as we press out of our warrior 2. Toes turn forward. Let's turn our toes outward as we come into a wide leg forward fold. Feel free to use your block if you need to. Inhaling and exhale, hinging at the hip joint, releasing to our block or to our floor. Soften those knees a little bit and let the hips sink down. And now press the legs straight. Good. Thigh muscles hugging hard to the bone. And now bending our knees, let the hips sink. And then straighten the legs, hugging those thigh muscles to the bone. One more time. Let the hips sink down, bend the knees. And now straighten, hugging the thigh muscles to the bone. Changing our feet. I want us to lift our heels and turn the heels out. Lift the heels and turn the heels out. Coming deeper into our forward fold. Maybe you don't need the block anymore. Maybe you can come all the way down into your elbows. Maybe you can finally touch fingertips to the floor. It's whatever works. Hugging those thigh muscles to the bone. It is everything from our waist up that is relaxed. These guys are strong, okay? Breathe. Shaking your head side to side as if saying no. And now nodding as if saying yes. Good. Let's toe heel in until we feel comfortable enough. Our feet are still generously wide. Hands come high on our thighs as we round up, one vertebrae at a time. Good job. Let's grab our straps. We're going to work a little bit on some shoulder mobility. Let's grab our straps comfortable apart. If I put one arm up at noon and the other arm at 9 o'clock, that's how far apart I want to grab my strap. From there, I just bring it straight overhead. My arms aren't extended, my shoulders aren't lifted. We're going to pull the shoulder blades down into our back pockets and squeeze the shoulder blades together ever so slightly. And our arm bones are not extended. Pull the arm bones down into our shoulder joint. So we look like this. So we're not up here, we're down here. Now give those shoulders a squeeze. Squeeze the shoulder blades back and notice what our hands do. Relax the shoulder blades and the hands come forward and the strap comes forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades, pull them back and down, and relax. Again, squeeze the shoulder blades back, pull them down. Good. Keep this and bring the strap forward. Again, keep the shoulder blades back and down and squeezed. And pull the strap back. Again, keep those shoulder blades squeezing together gently. Pull the band apart. You want to tear this in two. Again. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Give them a good hard squeeze. Good. From here, stay here. Let's pull the right hand down. Push the left hip down, separating our ribs. And back up center. And then pull the left handle down. Push the hips out to the right, but push the right foot through the floor. Let the ribs separate. And back center. Good. Taking the strap behind us, I shall give you my backside. I'm just going to wind up my hands. So that way, I won't lose my grip. And my hands rest right on my tuchus. And see how my shoulders are rounded? We want to be lifted. So again, hug the shoulders back. Don't let the shoulders be wide. Don't drop that kindergarten pencil. Hold that kindergarten pencil right between your shoulder blades. Give it a good squeeze. Tension on the strap. And now I want us to lift our sternums, not our ribs, but our sternum right here, right there, the top of our shelf. Lift that shelf up towards your nose. Let the hands slide down our backside a little bit more. Good. Tuck the tailbone under. And if you'd like, stagger your feet just a smidgen. And see if you can't lift your sternum a little bit more, but tuck your tailbone under. Let the head relax back, opening up your voice to the ceiling. Again, pull the front rib towards the front hip though. Don't let your lower back collapse. And bring your chin back down. And step the feet together. Just a wonderful opening for the upper part of our chest. That really needs a good stretch. Let's place our straps down. So we just unceremoniously come down to the floor and having a seat on our blocks, okay? Again, if you don't have a block, a couple pillows would do just fine. We're going to sit on the front edge of our block, coming to easy seated. Now that we're good and warm, we're going to work on some rotation and work a little bit on our hips before we finish out our day together. Hands may be resting on the knees. They can rest in our laps, whatever feels good. Crisscross so that one heel is stacked behind the other. If you can rest in lotus, feel free to. That's half lotus. You can pop the other leg up. If you can sit on the floor without a block, wonderful. I cannot because this is what happens. My knees pop up higher than my hips, and the block helps allow me to have my hips open and get the most benefit from my stretch while my knees stay down. Easy seated pose. Let's come into our twist, and I'd love it if we could break this down together. We're going to do it in 3 chunks. Lower, mid, and upper. So, let the right hand come to the floor, thumb rests on the block, or just have the elbows next to the ribs. Left hand outside the knee. Still looking at me. Inhale. And as we exhale, make it about the hips. Just above the hips, that low back. Turn and pause. Your gaze will go with this because you're turning. And now, the upper portion of our torso, our shoulders are turning. And then finally, our gaze. 3 separate little blocks. Breathe. Keeping our sternum lifted, thinking of the spine like a spiral staircase. We're not curling over to the side. Nice and tall. Think of wringing out that towel. Inhale. Exhale. Pause here a little longer, but we're going to float our hands from the resting point. The strength of our twist is from our core. Inhaling and exhale as we come back to center. Same thing other side. Let's do it in 3 separate little units. Inhale. Exhale, our lower back rotates. Our shoulders then turn. And then our gaze. You'll notice some rotate a little bit easier than the others. Breathe. And again, on our next exhalation, let's float our hands from their resting point, taking the strength of our twist from our core. Inhale, and exhaling as we release. Changing what foot is in front. And noticing that there is a difference to how things feel. That's very common. It's okay. If it's something that's a little awkward, that just means we need to pay a little bit more attention to our not so favorite side. Again, seated twist to inhale. As we exhale, let the lower back start the rotation. Let the shoulders rotate even more, and then our gaze. Breathing into the twist, our hips stay level, not leaning back or to the side. Wring out that towel. Again, on our next exhalation, let's float our hands up from their resting points. Breathe. Inhale. And exhale as we release to center. As we change what foot is in front. Inhale, seated twist. And exhale, starting our rotation. And our gaze comes last. Breathe. Nice and tall, sternums up. Inhale. And exhale, floating our hands up from their resting points. And coming back to center. Good. Let's bring the soles of our feet together. Feel free to grab the big toes or the ankles. Just don't yank on those big toes as we bounce our knees and butterfly. Getting those hips to forget that they're tight. Good. Let's pause, preparing for forward fold. Inhaling. As we exhale, hinge. Try not to round. This is not about roundness in our spine, but flat and hinging at our hip joints nice and low. Think of reaching your chest forward. Please don't look down at your feet. That's going to round your shoulders. Keep your gaze forward, about 3 to 5 feet out in front of you. Breathe. Imagine you have a good friend. You trust them. Their hands are low on your shoulder blades, gently pressing you forward. If you can, you may take your elbows and press your knees closer to the mat. Me, I have short little arms. They just don't quite reach. And I don't have the fold. So I'm just using gravity and a little bit of strength to pull the knees closer to the floor. Inhale and exhale, release. Bounce it out. We'll do that one more time. Good. Forward fold. Inhaling and exhale, hinging at our hip joint. Breathe. You have that good friend behind you, pressing your chest forward more. Think of more forward than down. Think out. Again, if you like, you can use your elbows, pressing the knees open. Good, and release. Let's come off of our blocks, having a seat upon or sit upon. Knees bent 90 degrees. And separate your feet generously. We're going to do a little Z-sit work. What I'd like us to do is rotate our hips over. So that way we have 90-degree bend, 90-degree bend. Hands rest by our side. And then come back to center. Hands behind us for support. And rotate. Again, 90-degree bend, 90-degree bend. Maybe you can pick up your arms. If you can, wonderful, great. Let's go back to the other side. Now, if you're like me and you're gonna fall over if you pick up your arms, that's okay. I have one side where I can pick up my arms, the other side I cannot. And that tells me that I have a lot more tightness in this leg because this leg isn't allowing my hip to open up to be able to sit up nice and tall. That means I need to pay a little bit more attention to my hips. And see, I can come over this side because this leg will open up more within my hip and not be down here pushing me over. Does that make sense? Let's flip it again. 90, 90, like a Z. And one more time. 90, 90. We can pick up our arms, wonderful. Let's roll over onto our sides, tucking our feet underneath us and easing ourselves onto our tuchus. Hands behind our knees for gentle support as we uncurl almost all the way down, just to the tops of our hip bones, hollowing out through our belly muscles. Good. Pulling ourselves up. Now, if you want, you can go without. Curl the spine down just till the tops of the hip bones touch. And uncurl up. 2 more times. Uncurl down. And curl up. Last one. Just till the tops of the sit bone or the hip bones touch, hollowing out through abdominals and pulling ourselves up. And this time, uncurling all the way down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Feel free to extend the arms, thumbs up, overhead. I know they might be going out of your line of sight. Pointing our toes. Good. And now pulling the arms down to goalpost. Fingertips point towards the ceiling. And fall to goalpost. Ceiling. And goalpost. One more time. Let's bring our arms down by our sides, finding ourselves in a comfortable final relaxation. Feel free to lift the hips and realign the spine before we straighten out the legs. Feet comfortable distance from our body, palms facing upward as we return our focus to our breathing, inhaling fully through the nose and exhale fully through the nose. Let each breath, each exhalation bring softness and warmth to our core. Let that softness radiate through the stomach, the chest, softening our facial muscles. Letting our chest stretch out, flatten out, and relax. Open up, the ribs separate. Our belly muscles sink. Our hips soften. Knee joints soften, elbows relaxed. With each exhalation, let that softness radiate out through the arms and legs, our fingertips and toes. And with each breath, let's allow ourselves to melt into the floor. Let's wiggle our fingertips and our toes, making a little bigger each time, bringing awareness to our extremities. Feel free to bring the soles of our feet together, hands together, gently rubbing to create some warmth. Shielding our eyes with our hands, allowing our eyes to open. Soles of our feet together. Let's let heaviness come to the knees as we open up our hips a little bit more, tucking our tailbone up towards our nose. And let's aid our knees together as we drum into our chest, cradle rocking side to side, starting with our knees high up on our chest, and then allowing the knees to fall away, changing the position of our rock. And draw in and release. And if you'd like, tucking and rocking and rolling to seated, taking 3 to 5 rocks to pause at the top, using the strength of our core to freeze. And joining me like in saying namaste. Namaste is not a religious word. Yoga is not a religion. It is a practice. It is something that can help us wherever we practice, wherever our faith is. So please don't let that make you think differently about it. Namaste loosely translates means the divine light honors, sees, and respects the divine light in you. It's letting each of us know that we respect our differences, whether we agree with each other or not. And I think that's important. Namaste. Have a great one. I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to doing more for you.